We actually just sat down with Toto Wolff for an hour as well for our podcast, and he sends you his best, and said he's really impressed by the realism of the film. Tell us how important that was to you to get it right from from a realism aspect.
Well, it's really important. I mean, we did it with Top Gun Maverick. We want to do it again with F1. It was a 4-year process to get this thing off the ground and in the right way. It took almost a year to make F1 comfortable with what we were doing. That was really part of our journey to make sure that Stefano, what happened is Brad, myself, and Joe Kosinski, who directed the movie, flew to London and sat down with Stefano and said, here's the movie we want to make. We want to make sure that they actually drive the cars, our actors. And how do we get this done? Fortunately, we had Lewis Hamilton as a partner. He was terrific. He's one of the producers on the movie. He made sure that we got it right. But that creates a problem because you have Lewis Hamilton, who's at the time in Mercedes, and they have this huge rivalry with Red Bull. So Red Bull for sure was going to be the villain in their minds. So it took us almost a year to get all these teams comfortable and drivers comfortable that we're going to tell a story about our two drivers. And F1, which has 10 teams, 2 drivers to each team, but it's the only sport in the world where your teammate is also your competitor. So everybody wants to be the #1 driver. So how do we navigate this with all these teams and make sure the FIA is comfortable? And it took us a year, but we got there, and we got unprecedented access to the tracks, to the drivers. We interviewed everybody. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but everything you see in the movie is accurate. Happened at one time during F1 over the last 75 years, some of the things, the antics that the drivers have pulled. But the fact that Brad and Damson took 4 months off to get in these cars, and we started them in a road car, put them in an F4 car, put them in an F3 car, and finally got them into our car, which was built and created by Mercedes, as I said earlier.
Jerry, we've seen Formula One really grow in popularity in the U.S., especially in the last few years. What about motorsport is so compelling to you personally, but also to viewers?
Well, I grew up in Detroit, so that's Motor City. So right away, I'm interested in cars to begin with. It's ingrained in my DNA. But that sport is, and I really didn't know much about F1 until I saw Drive to Survive, and it was really Joe Kosinski who came up with the story and came to me after we finished F1. He said we should make this movie about this extraordinary sport. So I think that, as I said, the first call we really made was to Lewis and say, come on in. And one of the prerequisites for the story to get Brad involved, he said, I have to drive. I'm not going to make a movie that's going to be green screen and process. So they took the energy and time to spend 4 months driving these cars.
How much of a problem was his age? Because we're seeing these kids driving Formula One that are, Kimmy's 18 years old, right? So Brad Pitt has to be at least as old as me. He's in the second half of his century. How did you overcome that?
Take a look at him. He doesn't look like it. He looks amazing. He takes care of himself. He worked out. Listen, when he wasn't on the track, he was in the gym working out to make sure he could handle the rigors of this sport. It's so difficult to drive these cars. And, they're in Singapore. It's over 100 degrees. Most will be 120 in those cars. They're exhausted. So Brad and Damson trained off the track, and then they drove. So they were in really good shape by the time we started the movie, so they could handle the brutality of what these cars throw you through. You're going in 5 Gs in some of these corners. But, Toto and Christian, all these team principles really helped us, Fred, Zach, to create a story that's accurate. And we interviewed everybody. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but this whole thing with the socks, where he has 2 mismatched socks, that came from Williams, who told us that one of their drivers came to the track and had 2 mismatched socks, and the first time he ever won a race. So he did that from there on. A lot of them are superstitious. We use that in the movie. This was a great experience for me because we're so lucky. We get dropped into a world we'll never be a part of and live that life, in this instance, for 4 years. And that's what we do for an audience. We drop you into a world, which is F1, which is really exciting, and make you feel what it's really like to be an F1 driver and be part of an F1 team. And that takes you on a journey. This movie is so immersive. between the sound, the visuals, but it's always about the emotion. It's not about all the bells and whistles. And you don't have to know anything about driving or know anything about F1 to really enjoy this movie. In fact, most people who come into this film, especially from this country, don't know very little about F1, but by the time they leave, they're interested in the sport. They feel they've had an amazing ride, and because we've transported them into another place, another time, and they feel a part of that experience.
Jerry, obviously, we've had some other great driving and racing films in the past. Of course, Steve McQueen made one or two. Ford versus Ferrari was pretty popular. Were there films that you referred to either as a do this or don't do that when you were creating this film?
I think, Joe and Brad and everybody looked at all those movies and they learned from them. And what's interesting is the technology that they had versus the technology that we have is so different. I mean, our cameras are a third the size of what we use in Top Gun, and we had 6 of those in the cockpit. Now it's even smaller. We had 15 camera positions on our car. You only could use 4 at a time. And it was even harder for our guys to drive than the real drivers because they had 4 cameras staring at them all the time. So they had to look around these cameras while they were driving the movie. We also created a special type of camera that we didn't have at Top Gun, which is a remote control camera, which can pan and move as we're going 180 miles an hour. So we had to build antennas are all around the track to be able to use this remote camera. So that adds to the excitement and the thrill of the movie. What we're trying to do is be seamless so you don't realize that we're actually making the movie, that you're following the story, you're excited by it, and then you're in that F1 car with our characters.
Jerry, I have not gotten a chance to see it yet. When I do, I'm going to make sure and see it in a theater because I want that experience of the big screen. I want the Dolby Atmos playing all around me. How important is it to you that people see your films in the theater as opposed to on streaming at home on a TV?
Look, for this movie, you want to see it on the biggest screen possible. You want to go to IMAX. You want to hear that Dolby sound, that Atmos. It's just so experiential to be part of it. It's a thrill. If you want to go and have a thrill for a night with your wife or your girlfriend or your friends, this is the perfect outing. It's something that's gives you a lift, makes you feel good, takes you away from the chaos in the world for over 2 hours. And that's what we try to do. Let's forget about everything. Let's forget about the world. And you get in Brad Pitt's world and Damson's world and Javier Bardem and Kerry Condon, which is a fantastic cast. A lot of Academy Awards in there and nominations in that group. So they're the best of the best. And we had Aaron Kruger write the screenplay, who wrote Top Gun Maverick. So you're going to get the same kind of thrills we gave you in that movie.
Jerry, I have to ask, since you've made this film, are you now a race fan? Are you a Formula fan? And who's your team and who's your driver?
Well, obviously it has to be Lewis. I mean, it can't be anybody else because he's a great friend and a phenomenal driver. And Ferrari was terrific, as was Toto, in making this film. In fact, we have Toto in the movie, and Fred from Ferrari, and Zach are actually in the movie, as a bunch of other Christian. I mean, they're all kind of have moments in the film, as a lot of the drivers do too. So that was fun, just being in their world, and I love it now. I follow it every week.
Well, I can't wait to see the movie. Congratulations on putting this film together. I think it's something that race fans have been waiting for decades, and I hope you guys are really successful with it. Jerry Bruckheimer, appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.